Can you talk into it for me?
Hello.
Hello? Okay,
hello?
it's picking it up.
Putting ready to spill the tea.
Okay. We're rolling.
Oh, hello.
I'm here with pro fighter,
Ooh.
DeAnna Bennett,
Hello.
and Chansu, her wiener.
Yes. It's
The
only
bigger of the two.
appropriate to have my wiener out for the video.
Absolutely, specifically the hairy one.
I try. Is there any other kind?
DeAnna,
Hello.
I want to talk to you about everything, but I want to talk to you about where you currently are in your MMA career.
Probably better
So
place to start.
No, because we're gonna go back a little bit, nothing crazy. But you're currently with Invicta, right?
Yes.
So tell us about how, I know you were with them years ago, right?
Yes.
So tell me about how you, this full circle ordeal.
Yeah, literally full circle. Invicta.
I don't want that, sorry.
I was like, what?
Uncomfortable.
We're throwing
Sorry.
things.
Uncomfortable.
We're throwing my wiener. Oh no.
He's not on camera.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Voice from the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, with everything that happened in the last year, I'm back with Invicta FC. They're the premier women's MMA promotion, and somebody that I was with for a long time.
Yeah.
Sorry, my wiener's escaping.
Hate when that
It's
happens.
fine. I know. It's weird. Mind of its own. And it's really great to be back. I just had my first fight back with them. I have another one scheduled. I was able to be back, and they put me on the card to be the 500th fight, actually.
Right.
So 500 Invicta fights, which is an amazing feat. You know, they were back before I was with them the first time. Yeah. I would watch the shows like, oh man, I want to be there.
Yeah.
And it's just something that's so great because females coming up, they have something to aspire to. Like, obviously you have like the big promotions, the UFCs, that kind of stuff, but it's a feeder into those organizations, and it's something that like young girls can look up to and say like, I want to fight for this promotion one day, and just be able to achieve those goals. They help so much with that, and all the people are great that work there. Like Shannon Knapp really created a good home for female fighters.
Right. And you were with them how many years ago, roughly?
10 million years ago.
Was it 10 years?
Well, I was fighting for them 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Let's see, what year did I start with them? Let me grab my wiener really fast. Let's help me think. I started with them in, 2013?
Okay. And was that the very first organization you started with?
So I had a couple local fights for Showdown Fights back in Utah. I fought for them 4 times. That was where I started my pro career. And then the bulk of my fights were actually with Invicta after that.
Okay.
So I actually hold the record for most Invicta fights.
Nice.
Actually. And as of the last one, I was tied. But now I am the sole owner of most Invicta wins.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
at some point you dabbled with Bellator and the PFL, right?
Yes. Not PFL. They're merged now, but I was
you
with
left
Bellator
before they merged.
Yeah,
right?
I
Okay.
left before they merged.
Yeah.
I was with Bellator for a good chunk starting in 2020 up until last year. Great promotion. I had a lot of good times.
Yeah.
And bad times.
Yep. And now you're on.
And
to the next.
we'll touch on that later. Yes.
No, we can touch on that right now, DeAnna.
Damn it.
So I actually met you right around your Hawaii fight with Liz Carmouche. So tell me, how did you get to that point? Because obviously you were on a winning streak to get that title fight, correct?
Yes. My very first fight with Bellator was back in 2020. Actually, also against Liz Carmouche.
Yep.
Can we say Thunder Cunt on this episode? Just curious.
I was gonna.
Not for any reason in particular, but we know why we say that.
Is that you?
Actually, awkward.
There's a lot going on in this room.
I'm just gonna ever so often just talk directly over here. It's fine.
People who are listening and not watching, DeAnna's holding her wiener dachshund, and then her fiance / son is in the corner.
It's my gorilla. I actually
Just
live
ripping
in
farts.
a zoo.
It's
Dog,
disgusting.
cat, gorilla, and We're gonna get gassed out soon.
Yep,
so.
and I'm gonna have to deep clean my couch once you guys leave.
Yeah. Well, that was a given.
So back to your best friend
Yes.
Liz.
Ooh, yeah. Can we? We never clarified.
So before on your way over here, I knew you had opinions, and I was not gonna put you in an awkward situation. But you seem like you want to bring it up, so let's go for it. Tell me about it.
So I think that the term thunder cunt is actually a nice term to use for certain people.
All right. Do you mind telling us just a little bit about why you feel that way?
So it's a long stream of things. I fought this person twice, and it's on me with not making weight. The last time I fought her for the title fight, I was 126.2 over the flyweight limit, and she went on a tirade about how she wants to end my career and how terrible of a person I am. And there were other choice words that probably are actually worse than thunder cunt, but that one's just my personal favorite.
Which,
so.
just really quick, I want to touch on that because I know you and I have talked in the past about this. Talk about specifically that weight cut, because I know you were traveling quite a bit. So what did that cut look like for you?
Oh man. That the Hawaii fight, there was a lot that went into that.
Right.
The night before we flew out for Hawaii, we had our last sparring. We did it at like midnight because of the time change.
Yeah.
And I actually broke my foot.
Great.
Yeah, it was
That's
great
what everybody
timing.
hopes to happen right before their title fight.
Absolutely. It's like, I fly tomorrow on like a 14 hours of travel to a place where I have to fight another human at the end of the week.
Great.
Boom. So I tore a ligament and I broke my foot. And so traveling, number one, retaining water with the traveling. And then when I got there, the normal ways that I would try and work out and do stuff like that was very, very painful.
Because your foot, right?
Because my foot, and just things weren't going as smoothly as one could hope. I tried to do everything that I could. It was a long camp. And in the end, ended up being a little bit over. And it kills me. Literally kills me.
Yeah.
Like, I always go back and think about the what ifs. Like, for a long time, I thought about that, and I had to like be like, okay, well, I can't change the past. All I can do is look forward to the future. So I can't dwell on this. I just have to change the narrative for myself of what I'm gonna do going forward. And so,
yeah,
not ideal.
Yeah, no, I understand. And then I remember, because I watched that fight. I think it was like first round. You're pretty dominant, right? From what I remember.
I felt pretty good for. It was the first 4.5 rounds. felt pretty good. Did pretty well, and then I made a stupid mistake. I got caught, and to her credit, she got me with that submission at the very end.
Yeah.
And so, she won fair and square. What I didn't like about it is that afterwards she's like, "Oh man, I felt every ounce of that extra pound," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Bitch, you probably weighed more than me on fight day. I weighed 140 on fight day. I guarantee she weighed more than me on that day." So I'm just like, "Listen, you won. There's no need to be a dick."
Right.
That's part of my problem too. It's like, okay, you won. I got it. You were the winner. This is why we call him Thunder Cunt. So, just saying, you don't have to like stick your dirty little finger into the wound. Like, it is what it is. Like, I went out there and did everything that I could, and like I said, I made the mistake, and that's on me. But it felt really good in the cage for the first little bit, because it's like, all right, well, what else am I gonna do? We're here to fight. Like, I'm gonna give her the best fight that I can, and shit happens.
So, and she's done now, is that right, or is she fighting?
No,
still?
she.
I thought she was retiring at
made
first.
the plan, and she was over in PFL, and then funny plot twist, her last fight, she missed weight. I wish this was on video, because I'm gonna just turn right here and look to the camera, even though you guys can't see it. So after all the and that's sarcastic, kind words that were said, she ended up missing weight for her last fight. And
so it's a little ironic, right?
Very, very ironic.
If given the opportunity, would you take another fight with her?
I would probably pay money to punch her in the face again. So
Right.
I
And
would
who is she with?
absolutely
Who's
love
she with
to.
now?
PFL.
She is with the PFL.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when PFL and Bellator merged, they didn't have enough spots for all the girls they had on the roster. They let go half of it. I happen to be part of that.
Right.
Sucks, but it is what it is. Like, but she ended up being brought over, was part of the tournament, and then, didn't make it to the finals.
Yep. Are you a black belt on the mats, but a white belt around your house? No problem. Independence Interior Systems is here to save the day. They remodel bathrooms, kitchens, basements, floors. They fix and install electric, plumbing, and so much more. Don't tap out on DIY projects. Let Independence Interior Systems free up your time to let you focus on the black belt you're meant to be. Call 856-230-5987 for a free estimate. If you're in the South Jersey area, that's 856-230-5987. Real quick before we move on,
Yes.
I remember during this fight you had an interview
Oh, yes.
that went a little bit viral.
About that.
So, is it excuse me, can you be quiet?
The ghost in the
Excuse
corner
me.
is talking
Quiet,
again.
I got this. I can handle it. So for that interview, anybody who hasn't watched it, I'll probably link it or like put a short clip. Sorry, DeAnna. But DeAnna was just being her goofy self. We love her for that. She was making some, sexual innuendos with the microphone. Let's talk about that because there's a lot of men in MMA that say crazy off the wall shit. And I would say they're even glorified for having this, don't give a fuck attitude, right? But I feel like you were not really given much praise. You had quite a bit of backlash. Can you talk about it?
Hi, I'm a female, and the world is unkind to us, and there's a very big double standard. Hey, double guns on that one. Holster those really fast. So whenever I joke around, if anyone knows me, like, I think the term goofball or just goofy in general is, I hear quirky a lot.
Awkward.
Awkward is a big one. Very big one. Awkward laughter. And I just like to joke around and make light of things. And so I may have made a joke about a microphone, purely just a joke.
Right.
And the people who knew me were like, haha, that's funny.
Yeah.
And then it did happen to garner a little bit of attention. And it's like, guys, it was literally a joke. There's a microphone in my face right now. You don't see me doing anything inappropriate to it.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
Just
And I
kidding.
felt like you were also, were you like a little nervous too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was media day. I was up on a stage in front of all of these people asking me questions. Like, fight week wasn't necessarily going the smoothest as it was.
Right.
I was put on the spot. And so I use like dark humor as my way of
Coping.
Exactly. Like, ask anybody. Like, that's how I cope with things.
Like,
when my
knowing
dad
you-
died, I made dead dad jokes all the time, and that's just how I work. And I got it from him, so he's okay with it.
And knowing you now, like knowing your personality so well, I can like watch that video and tell that like that is just your way of coping. Like me and you, like I'll if you haven't roll with DeAnna, like she makes jokes through the whole roll. Like that is you to the core. If you don't know you, then I guess you don't know if you're joking. But a lot of people took such great offense to it.
Yes, there was a lot of strong opinions. And the running joke between then and now, it was, I got to be real careful in interviews, which maybe that's why it took me so long to get on your podcast, because I didn't want to get kicked out of another gym.
Yikes.
So anyone that's listening to this, please don't. Please.
Yeah, I mean, the only
I would
reason
like
we
to
got
stay.
DeAnna on is because one of our students, Bam, asked really nicely. So
She did.
It took that. It took a 9-year-old, I think, to finally ask.
It's true.
Thank you.
The kids ask, and I give them what they want, and I will try and be as appropriate as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though I'm
Stop listening if you're listening.
yeah, just sitting here stroking my wiener. So
Sorry about that, parents.
everything is fine.
So everything went down with Liz.
Yes.
And then from there was almost about a year and some change before you ended up getting your next fight.
Absolutely. And like I said, a lot happened in that last year. There was a lot of different changes. Like I said, I the main gym that I trained at, that I spent every day at, I was kicked out. I couldn't go back.
Why?
And there's a lot of different reasons. None have that been made clear to me. But
can I ask you this?
Yes.
Were you sat down and told to leave?
I asked for a long time to go and talk to them. I finally went into the gym, had a conversation with the coaches, and they said, oh, you should take 2 weeks off of training and then reevaluate and see if this is what you want. 2 weeks goes by. I message, no answer. I message again, no answer. I call, no answer. And
That's a real man right there.
Keep going.
Voice in the corner. And so I was like, okay. And then the people that were actually training there that I was friends with were like, yeah, they pretty much sat everyone down and said she is not allowed there anymore. And so it was being made a point of, because apparently it was a disgrace to the gym. A lot of, again, choice things were said. And yeah, and like everything. As of recently, that was a like dramatic pause. That's because I was letting my brain catch up. As of recently, I have actually been allowed to go back there.
I was just gonna ask, is it rectified now? So
yeah, so I've been back there a few times in the last couple of months. But that's not my home. Like, I was grateful to go back and that I was able to go there. I was hoping to have a conversation, but I wasn't able to ever have that conversation. It was kind of just like tossed aside. So I am grateful that I was able to do it, but I find myself in a better place right now where I want to surround myself with people that 100% genuinely care and are not going to just toss me aside because they have some, I don't know, some bias against me. So
where are you training now?
So I still train at Webb's for jiu-jitsu. That hasn't changed. I've been there for the last year or 2 years, or I don't even know how long. Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I do the bulk of my MMA training over at Beacon MMA with Coach Peach.
Nice.
So
your next fight after Liz was in Detroit.
Yes.
And you were kind of homeless at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Not literally. We're not talking about your actual physical home, but I'm talking about your MMA home at this point.
Yeah. No, I legitimately was. Like, I was doing what I could, but the difference between when I was fighting with Bellator and my training, everything up and before that point, and in the year and so after that fight in Hawaii, I basically was a homeless MMA fighter, getting little training where I could, but not the intensity. And I got offered this fight with like 1 month's notice, and I was grateful for the opportunity. And so I took the fight, and knowing that I wasn't actually ready for it, but I love fighting, and I wanted to be in there so badly that I was like, whatever, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, you're going to take the first opportunity that comes your way.
So my fight was, the whole camp was basically just get my weight down and be in shape for it. But I wasn't getting the training that I needed. And so that's why I don't even necessarily call that a fight. It's on my record, but I call that that instance, that one time that I went to Detroit.
Right. So
yeah.
In case anybody didn't know, so you had that fight. You unfortunately didn't win.
No.
Sounds like, though, from that point moving forward, it lit a little bit of a fire in you. Like, I feel like you fell back in love with MMA from that point.
Oh, absolutely. Like, going through that whole experience, it broke my heart a little bit, but that also it gave me that drive. Like, I knew that I loved MMA, and I knew that I wasn't done with MMA and that I wanted to continue it. But I was like, if I am going to get back into there, I need to be 100% committed. I need to have solid training. I need to have the people around me that push me and hold me accountable. And I need to hold myself accountable for the training, because MMA is not a game. It's not like basketball where like, oh, I'm going to go shoot some hoops and everything's fine. I'm like, yeah, it's like shooting hoops, but somebody's trying to elbow you in the face.
I was just going to say, you can even compare it to jiu-jitsu. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, injuries can happen in jiu-jitsu, but you have the opportunity to tap before. You
Yep.
can't really tap before a punch comes square into your jaw.
No, not at all. And I mean, you could. I'm sure there's some fights out there where people did, but it's
a dangerous game.
It is a little bit, and my nose is already real crooked, so I don't really need it punched in even more, unless you're gonna punch me on like the right side and like
Straighten
it
out.
up, because we're struggling to breathe at night. So,
So
yeah,
after that, you got another fight, because that wasn't with Invicta. That
No.
was with I forget.
that was it doesn't
Someone
matter.
else. Okay.
Yeah,
we
someone
won't talk
else.
about it. But after that, Invicta
Promotion
picked
that
you
shall
up.
not be named.
Invicta picked you up
Yes.
for the fight that was just in Kansas City.
Yes.
Who was that against?
My last fight was against Liz Tracy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Another Liz. Big fan of Liz. You
Oh,
love
she
to go
is
against
Liz I
Liz's.
love, but I
Yeah,
just
you do.
wanna
I noticed that.
Fight
Yeah.
all
She
Liz's.
seems sweet.
So
you flew out to Kansas.
polar opposite.
Yes. Yeah. Personality
Yes.
wise. Yeah.
Absolutely. We like Liz Tracy.
All right.
Polar opposite.
So you fly out there. You felt more prepared this time?
I felt 100% ready. Like I felt like myself going into fight week. You know, I had a lot of nerves. I'm not gonna lie. I worked with mental health coach Jerry. You're awesome, Jerry. But he helped me a lot with those instances. But I still had a lot of anxiety going into it, just because of everything that I've been through.
Right.
Everything that happened on that last quote fight. That's the way I like to call it. Air quotes. Fight. And so I had a lot of pressure with that, but I felt good. Like I felt like things were going right. I knew that I was ready for it. But like I said, it was a battle inside of my own mind, because if I went out there and I did what happened in Detroit, then I didn't know if I could continue. Not because I didn't love it, but because I only want to compete if I can compete with the best. I only want to compete if I can be my best when I'm out there. And so if I went out there and just like couldn't pull the trigger and let myself have that block, like I kept on telling myself, and I would have nightmares that I lost and that was the end. Because like I said, I'm not going to keep putting myself in that position where I want it so bad and give myself that letdown. And so like I had to tell myself, well, just don't do that then. Right. Go out there and fight like you love it, fight like you know how to. And I still don't even think that it was my best performance, because I had those hesitations that were kind of on my mind. But I do feel like we're getting there. In the right direction. This next one's going to be even better than that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so you won that fight. And just to touch on that, because I was at your Detroit fight and then I watched your Kansas fight, and like, from my opinion, you were like two different people. Like, knowing you and watching you walk out in Detroit, I could see it in your demeanor that you were not confident, and that also you just didn't look like you were having fun. Yeah. When you walked out, whether or not you were nervous, the way you looked when you walked out in Kansas, you looked like you were having a great time. So, you know, you might have been nervous, but we couldn't tell. And I just feel like the switch in personality, even just in your walkout, was like completely night and day.
Yeah. Well, that's because that wasn't me. That was Patricia.
That was Patricia.
It was Patricia in Detroit. Definitely not me. So, and then we're finally back to vitamin D. So, hey.
Oh yeah, I should have introduced you that way. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So now you have another fight coming up. Yes. And tell us about this. When is it? Who's it with?
So I'm again back with Invicta on Invicta FC 58. I think. I think it's 58. Numbers are hard. And November 6th in Kansas City again. Nice. I was given the opportunity for a short notice fight. There's some stuff happened with what was supposed to be the main event. They offered me one girl pulled out. They offered me that girl. I have a big feeling she said no to that, because I had somebody who had already fought. Oh, okay. And she's cool though. I have no problem with her. Yeah. If she's with Invicta, I might see her again in the future. So cool. Yeah. But then she was out, and so they gave me this new girl, one up and comer. So we're the co-main event for the card, and that's awesome. I'm excited. So
yeah, you're heading in the right direction, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if nothing else, like I'm excited. I was given the opportunity and I was excited. It wasn't even a hesitation.
Yeah.
Like I had taken a couple of days, let my body heal from the fight, eat sushi because, you know.
That's all you guys eat.
Basically, you know, you get engaged to a Japanese man and he's just like, so we're going to get sushi today? And I was like, my waistline doesn't necessarily approve of that, but the answer's yes. But so got good amount that week. And then I was like, all right, we're back in camp. Perfect.
Nice.
And so good amount of time, heavy into the preparation for it right now. And like I said, I'm just excited for it. I have a lot of stress off my back. That's not saying that I'm taking anything lightly. You know, I'm training harder than I ever have, and whatever happens. But I'm excited, and I feel like I'm gonna still have the best form of me out there.
Now you know who you're going against for this,
Yes.
right? How old is she?
That's a good question. I'm assuming she's young enough to be my child.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna ask you 'cause-
they all are. So.
Well, no, that's like for real. It's a good good thing to talk about because you've been in the game for a minute. Like you're not new to this. Like your season,
no.
like you know, you were in the Ultimate Fighter. You've been around for 10+ years.
Oh yeah.
How does it feel now going against girls that are younger? Do you feel it makes a difference? Not at all. How do you feel?
Thankfully, they have that old woman strength finally kicked in. Just kidding.
Well, and
I already
you
had
have
my
experience.
farm strength. You can't say the other word on, so we're gonna say farm strength.
I know you're.
We don't gonna get canceled for something else.
We'll tell you later.
Yeah,
You have it.
you do.
Go on.
no,
Go
no!
on. Okay. Go on.
No one cares about.
Be quiet.
This ghost that you have in your house is real not appropriate.
Can you stop? Can you stop? I'm not gonna cut it out. I hope you get canceled. All right, go ahead, DeAnna.
Oh. The autism is strong with this one.
Unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. That's my problem.
So yes, some of them are younger than you, but
Yeah.
you do have the experience,
Yes.
right? Like you have more fights under your belt.
Yeah.
Does it even things out? Like how do you feel when you're out there?
Honestly, I feel like the experience does help me out a ton. And I do feel with how I take care of myself, how just even like lifestyle and everything like that I'm still in peak shape. Like the last few years, I felt like I've actually been in better shape than I was even at the beginning of my career.
Right.
And so as long as I'm able to hold myself to that standard and keep up that standard, that I don't care that they're young. That's cool. That's good for them that they're starting their journey up there. And show it for us old folks so we can still do it.
Right. So it hasn't
Perfect.
like you don't feel that it's made things more difficult.
No, not at all. And it's funny because so Daishi was at ADCC Worlds and he had the big thing right before he came. He had to go like down the stage. And so like me and the coaches had to go out to the mats from a side entrance. And so I'm standing there with like Coach Peach and Jonovan, and Boogie Martinez was standing there as well. He was waiting for his fighter to come out. And so like I said hi, like he knows Daishi and he's super awesome.
he is.
Sorry for talking bad about your students. Sorry. My bad. But I was talking to him a little bit and I was like, oh, what do you have coming up? Just kind of exchanging those and talking about that. And I was like, oh, well, I think I'm going to be signed with Invicta. I like literally just found out about the fight with Liz. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. And like, he's talking about competing and, we're similar in age. And so talking to him about that. And we just had this conversation where it's like, well, like, I don't care. I don't care how old I am. I don't care about the number that it says there. Like, I still have that drive and I still love it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't care that I'm competing against people that are half my age. I care about that I can still compete to my best ability and that I love it. So as long as I have that, then why shouldn't I do it? And he agreed. And he's just like, well, that's the same thing. Like, I want to still compete and I still want to do this. Like, if anyone has anything else to say about it, people love to talk shit about people just for the sake of talking shit about people. And it's like, well, so what? It's probably because you're not out there living your dreams.
Right. And to your point, that same day we saw Wagner
Absolutely.
win a lot.
Oh yeah.
At 42, I believe we saw
Yep.
Daishi go against Cyborg, who's also I think
He's
don't remember
like
me if I'm wrong, but I think he's in his
41 or
40s.
42, something like that. There was,
yeah.
well, even Daishi's division, the guys that got second and got third, Lovato and Cyborg, they're
Right.
both in their 40s.
Right.
And they're going against these younger people, and they
Winning.
they were win. Exactly.
And not like
Cyborg.
winning by like a little bit.
No,
like,
they were
whooping some
getting
butt.
submissions. They were competing to the top of their ability. Like I said, Cyborg placed in his division, and he even got second in the absolute. And then it's something to say about, obviously, jiu-jitsu is a little bit different than MMA, but as long as you're taking care of yourself and your heart's in it, then
Why not do it?
why not? Exactly. Like I've been told so many times from people like, oh, you need to see reality, you need to quit, you need to get a real job. And it's like, you just don't understand. Like you don't understand having a dream and having a passion and having something that you work towards and achieving that. Like you would rather live safe in a little box and never put yourself out there than to go for the things that you want to go. And I think that's sad. Like I used to have a job. I used to work a very good sales job, make a lot of money, never have to worry about anything. And it ate at my soul every day. Like, why would I not want to do something that I love?
Yeah.
And competing and then also coaching, I love it.
Yeah. So we can expect to see you have some more fights in the near future.
Absolutely.
You're not
Somebody
done
was
after this
asking
one?
me today, actually, like, oh, well, how many do you think you have in you? And I was like, I don't know, maybe another year. You know, I want to settle down. I want to have a family. I want to have little gorillas. I'd say that in a way, but it's going to come out head to toe covered in hair and just like, it's not going to talk for like 5 years. It's just going to say, probably drooling.
Perfect. Something to look forward to.
I'm so excited.
You mentioned coaching.
Yes.
So obviously you coach at Freedom Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes.
And that's the only place you coach right now, right?
I coach at Webb's as well.
Oh, that's right.
So,
on Saturdays, I think.
Wednesdays.
Okay, I'm very wrong
That's
about her schedule.
He coached on
Oh,
Saturdays.
it was
I
Daishi,
coached.
whatever.
Yeah, I do.
You're blending
a couple
into
adult
one human.
classes. Oh, don't put that even on me. That's way too much back hair for me to deal with.
How do you like coaching? Because you coach kids and adults, because you do kids for Muay Thai, adults for Jiu-Jitsu. Is that right?
Yes, and
Right
adults
now.
for Muay Thai as well.
And adults for Muay Thai.
So it's holding my wiener again. Got important things to talk about. Not,
Hey,
I
Chunsu.
shouldn't say that.
Hey, baby.
Sorry, this is my little Chunsu
You got
baby.
something to say?
Sarah Connor's at home alone.
Oh,
It's
little
very
kitty.
sad.
Naked cat.
I know.
Half naked.
Half naked. A little scandalous right there.
Yeah, so tell us.
I love coaching.
Yes.
You know, even before I started there, you know, I'm very thankful to have that spot at Freedom that Jeremy brought me on as an instructor there. It was supposed to be only for like one class, 2 classes, and now I teach multiple classes a week, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I've always had a passion for teaching and for helping others. You know, at one of my other gyms, I used to help teach like the kids jiu-jitsu and kids wrestling. And one of my favorite moments is I taught a kid how to do a fireman's carry.
Yeah.
And then when we were doing live rounds, he's like, so can I try and go for that? And I was like, well, yeah, of course you can go for that. And he did this picture perfect.
This is why I told you not to bring her. Yeah, they don't. you don't
Sorry,
listen.
my wiener's got the zoomies. Tends to happen this time of afternoon. Children. But he did this picture perfect fireman's carry, and I just like, it just gave me this feeling in my stomach and my heart. Like I loved it to be able to see people teach somebody something and for them to just love it so much and to be able to help them. And so teaching these kids is, and even with the adults, you know, I take pride in that. I look forward to it every single day. You know, in my spare time, I try and look up things to help people. And whenever I see these kids hitting certain things and in competition or even just on the mats and building confidence, it's a point of pride for me, because I got into martial arts, and like we already touched, I'm real awkward. Anyone who's known me my whole life knows that I'm awkward, and I there was like a point when I was a kid, like if I made eye contact with people, if I had to speak to people in public, I would be in like a cold sweat and basically almost pass out because I was just so awkward. And martial arts has actually given me my confidence, just in life and with everything. My sister used to say it all the time. She's like, I don't even know how you got into this. Like, you were the weirdest, most awkward kid that I've ever met. And I said, thank you. And then, but it's true. Like, it wasn't just like I got into it and then I was like, oh, hey, everything's great. You know, I was starting to do Muay Thai, and one of my friends, Court McGee, one of the favorite stories, he would always come up. He's very vocal. Anyone who knows him, he's a talker. So he would come up and like see me there, and he'd like be like, hi, and say something a little every day. And he's like, for 1 year, I came up and I talked to her and I talked at her and she never talked back. And then one day she just opened up and then never shut up again. I was like, and you did that to me, Court. Thank you.
Like, it's your fault.
It's all your fault. But no, it was just because I was able to find my voice and find that confidence, which is something that I love for this. And just being able to help other people. Last week I was teaching over at Webb's, and one of the guys that comes pretty regularly to my class came up and he's just like, hey, I wanted to say thank you. I'm like, for what? Like, what did I do? And he's just like, so you were talking about just kind of putting fears aside and going out there and competing. And so I tried to sign up for the one, but I couldn't. But there was a Naga the following week. I signed up for the Naga, and I just did it. And I was like, that's amazing. He's like, well, I didn't just do it. He's like, I won gold. Holy crap. I was able to use one of the submissions that you taught me like a couple of weeks before the competition, and I used that to win gold. And then and he's like, I just really wanted to thank you. And just to inspire other people to go out and do that. That's what I want to give back to the community. I want to help people any way possible. Just help them find their path into things. And if they have a passion for it too, you know, I want to guide them on their journey. I never want to push people that aren't ready or don't want to do it. But if this is what they're dedicating their self to and they put themselves out there, I want to help them as much as possible. And those experiences, that's why I love teaching. That's what I got into this for. And I don't even care if the guy went out there and like got demolished. Right. I don't care about that whatsoever. If he went out there, signed up, pulled the trigger on his first tournament. It was his first tournament ever. If he was there and then got crushed, but was just like, and now I want to do it again. That's what I care about. And I've had instances like that. You know, seeing people, they went out there, competed, they didn't win, but they're like, I want to do that again. Absolutely. And so it's like, well, whatever you need, I'm there. I got you. And I'll help whatever means possible.
Yeah. And that is, you know, the type of person you are. You do help with whatever means possible. I will say that about you.
I try.
You are that type of a coach. Like, you are the type that's like on the sideline after class, taking an extra 20, 30 minutes to go over questions with people. You're the person that if I'm rolling with you, you're like, well, you know, maybe you could do it this way instead because you're a girl and you'll have upper body strength. And I appreciate that about you because, you know, some people just, they're there for an hour, they coach and they leave. But you do take the extra time to like teach people in the way that they need help. You know, like you meet people where they're at.
And that's what I want to find. And I'm not going to talk bad about any other instructors or anything like that. Fine, but I'm just kidding. There's some people that I'm just kidding. You got nervous in the corner.
Darts today she got.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the wiener's too happy. Can't talk bad about that one. No, it's just like one thing that I always tell my students after classes is that, like, not that you want to disregard what other professors say or anything like that. Even for what I tell them, it's you have to find your style of jiu-jitsu. You have to find your style of Muay Thai, of your striking.
Can you stop?
You have to. Oh,
stop doing that. We were pouring water onto my pillow. Sorry, DeAnna.
That sounds about right.
And you're distracting us. Go ahead. Sorry.
He does that all the time. No, it's you have to take bits and pieces from different instructors because not everybody's the same. I was teaching a 6 a.m. class this morning, and I had two people that were wildly different body types. One was less. So
Okay, yep.
different than anyone.
Real tiny. Just kidding.
The smallest.
For people who don't know, Les is a very
large.
but he's not fat, he's muscular. I just
very
don't have to
muscular.
describe him. He's very top heavy,
I'm sorry.
bulky man.
Is there a duck in the room? There was a
It's you. Les
your butt. It said.
Les is like,
Oh.
who does he look like? What celebrity?
Oh man. Oh, it was her.
Oh, it was
It
her. Deanna just blamed Daishi for farting, and it was the dog.
It was my dog. Sorry. He's very, very, very
Broad.
muscular and broad, and
Yes.
like I don't even think there's an ounce of fat on this
No,
man.
not at all.
He's got these big, giant arms and
Yes.
shoulders.
Bigger version of me.
Oh, we're not even going there.
He kind of looks like the guy from Moana.
Yeah.
Like, right?
He
Am I
kind of
wrong?
does actually.
Moana, isn't that?
Yeah.
Well, it's a
the
cartoon,
character. He
but-
looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's kind of built like that. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, just
Yeah.
like real strong.
Real
and then
strong.
we had another gentleman there, just average body
Average
shape.
Joe.
Yeah, and so we were going. I was just telling them this morning that it, like, what is gonna work for Les might not work for the other gentleman
yeah.
there, and what works for me might not work for either of them.
Of course.
And so you have to take the core concept of the move, of the technique, and you have to find the different ways that it makes it work for you.
Right.
Like, one size does not fit all. Like, take the way that I do it, take the way that Daishi does it, take the way that Jeremy does it, take the way that Jonathan does it.
Right.
Any of these professors, and then find the little details that work for you.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think some instructors get too caught up in like, well, this is how I do it, and so this is how you will do it.
Like you do it exactly the same way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so like I've had professors like that in the past, and it's like it's not a cookie cutter thing. It's not like stamp.
Yeah,
this
like
is how it
flexibility
is.
comes into play,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And just athletic ability, size,
There's so many different variables, and so it's like finding those little details, like piece together the puzzle that works for you. And I want to help people find that, because I know too many people who have gotten frustrated because they're like, well, I can't get this move.
Right.
And I was like, well, this move, you're going to have to tailor it to you. Or sometimes moves just work really well on other people. Like, there's a reason why you don't see everybody out there hitting go-go platas.
Yeah.
Like, some people just physically are not capable of maneuvering themselves into that position.
Right.
And which is a shame, because go-go's are actually really fun. My first gym had a no go-go policy. It was literally like no go-go's. And so
stupid.
I was like, all right, no go-go's. And and then in the last year, I was
why?
like, because the way that people like try and power out of them, you can blow your knee out.
Okay.
Which I think that's how Boogie hurt his knee at the trials. Was he had a beautiful go-go on the guy, but I think it tweaked his knee.
Ouch.
And so it is a dangerous move.
Yeah.
Which that's what I teach the children. I may have taught a go-go plata once or twice to a few kids, but they hit it, and so can you really be mad?
That's right. Well, I was just thinking, even just last night, Daishi was teaching something. Some wrestling. What was he teaching again? I can't remember.
The wrestle ups to the
But what was it specifically?
grabbing the far leg.
I'm the best coach.
No, Daishi, be quiet.
Yeah. This
but,
isn't about
but
you!
what was the? It was like a penetration step, but it was
Yeah.
it was like a sweep single, right?
Yeah, sweep single.
Yeah, no, it was a sweep single, and
was a
like
sweep
that's
single.
not my thing because it hurts my knee, and I'm not a wrestler, and I'm not very athletic. So, so I'm just so Deanna's partnered with me, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna do that because I did it the night before, and I have a gigantic bruise on my knee. So Deanna's like, okay, why don't you just go for an ankle pick? Daishi doesn't even know this happened because we did it behind his back, and it literally got the exact same result we wanted, right?
Yep.
But you tailored it to my abilities and my lack of abilities, and I love when you help me like that, because otherwise I would have just been like, I'm just gonna skip this altogether.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I don't want. I don't want people to have to sit out because of certain things. And like, that's why there's people that want to get into the sport in general, but they're like, well, I can't do that because of, say, they have like a physical limitation or, medical limitation. It's like,
Mental
no,
limitation.
that there's a lot of that actually. So, but it's like, I want to
Be in a mental institute.
be able to, No lies were detected from Chansu. Oh, baby. But it's just, those are the little things. Like, I want to encourage everybody to kind of find their path and go through that. And I'm here to help out and
Yes.
anything I can. And I mean, I just want to see people succeed.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder why they let me teach kids, because I taught them how to hand sign murder, death, kill. And I'm like, all right, well, you're going to go out there next round and you're going to murder, death, kill. And I'm like, should I be teaching kids how to sign that? There's actually a really cool song with it too. And I play it and they do the hand sign to it. And I'm like, yep, these are my people.
But I mean, obviously your success in teaching shows, like the program specifically of Freedom has grown dramatically, right?
Yes.
Our Muay Thai, basically, Daishi's giving himself credit, just so you know, but
Well,
it's you, especially like specifically Muay Thai, because like it is you, like that is your program. You built it and it wasn't huge and now it is.
If you build it, they will come.
Yep.
I said that to Daishi once and he's like, is that from Star Wars? And I was like,
Yeah, that feels right.
yes.
Just pet.
You're so pretty. You're so pretty. It's from Field of Dreams. Please
So
don't
don't tell him.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
It's from the Goonies. So real quick before I forget.
Chunk love sloth.
Okay, yeah, I love
Sloth
the Goonies.
love Chunk.
And you know what? You look like the guy from the Goonies.
Yeah. Can you say,
Daishi.
hey, you guys?
That is you. That is Daishi. I have a Goonies rash guard. It's the best thing ever.
So much.
Before I
Great
forget.
movie. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Getting
I just don't want to. I
distracted.
keep thinking about it and then I keep forgetting. Vitamin D.
Oh, hello.
Tell us how that became your stage name.
Well, I have a bright, shiny personality.
Right. Yes, that's it. Uh-huh.
So going back to the fact that I joke around a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who would have known? My first fight name was actually the Argentine assassin,
Okay.
which that also was just because I was joking with a promoter. I happened to be fighting a girl named the Venezuelan Vixen.
Oh, I get it.
And yeah, again, Thunder comes.
Who is it? Who is it?
Juliana Pena.
Oh,
Who's
okay.
now the UFC
You know,
champion.
I just saw that fight. Brenna actually showed it to me the other day. I never watched it before. Where you beat her?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brenna just showed me when we were out watching the fights last weekend.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's also, if anyone ever was like, oh, would you ever want to fight? I would pay money to punch her too.
Right.
She is
We have a lot of fights coming up.
a terrible person.
Yeah. Yikes.
Watching her win the title, I was like, ugh. Well, because like she tries to play this heel, and I say she tries to play this heel in the media and stuff, but no, she's actually just a raging bitch. But I know, Sansu, I know. We shouldn't talk bad about anybody else. But I was fighting her for showdown fights. I won, which is why she doesn't like me. I'm sorry. You didn't even make weight. So let's talk about that.
Nobody's making weight these days.
What can we say? We like the foods. It's great. But so my friend was the promoter, and he was like joking around, like, "Haha, she's the Venezuelan Vixen. You should be the Argentine assassin." And I was like, "Haha, okay." And then he put it on the paperwork, and then people ran with it. And so I was like, "All right, well, I guess that's my name because you know my mom's from Argentina. That's my heritage." And so I was like, "Well, I mean." All right. Even though it sounds like I'm assassinating Argentines. That's the way I see it. I'm like, I'm the Argentine assassin. And I'm like, well, hunt them down.
Wait, that's so funny.
See? And that's the way my brain worked. And I was like, I don't know if anyone else thinks of it that way. But
So is that why you stopped with that name? Because you didn't want people to think you were
really
killing
like,
Argentinians?
wait a second. I'm hunting down my own kind. Like I said, I need a holster the guns. No, it's because I went on The Ultimate Fighter, and I actually got the name from Barb Honchak, who love Barb to death. Anyone that knows Barb, if you don't love Barb, then
Who is she?
She was the Invicta champ for a very long
Okay.
time. She
You know, I
was
don't
like
know.
the best of the best at 125 for a really long time, and then was on The Ultimate Fighter with me. She was
Okay.
on my team, Team Alvarez, and I just love her to death. And like, we would always go and I would just joking around about stupid stuff. And then I remember like we went to a Contender and she's like, said something. She's like, okay, vitamin D. Like, can we try and be appropriate? There's kids around.
And why did she say vitamin D?
Because I was just making a joke about, I don't know. I would just joke around like, who wants a lap dance today? And like weird things. And trust me, it's not like a real lap dance. It's real awkward. It's mostly just like a lot of hip motions like this. I'm gonna stay seated, so
and so
it's gonna get weird. So she gave me the nickname Vitamin D.
And what did she mean by it?
Well,
what was the D?
Well,
DeAnna?
my name's DeAnna, so that's why. It's not because like people are like, oh, is your name Vitamin Dick? And I was like,
that's what I was getting.
My name is not Vitamin Dick. Like my initials are DB, so I guess I am a douchebag, but. That's not why I got that. It's just because it like rolled off the tongue and it happened to be my name. It sounds slightly inappropriate, which is like how I just joke around, and so that's why she ended up just giving me that name. Because you make one too many fisting jokes. Again, just joking, guys. For the love of everything, don't cancel me.
A dose of medicine.
It's a dose of vitamin D on a raining day.
Got it. Okay.
Coming for
so
you.
I actually thought it was more inappropriate than it is.
No, like that. Most people get that impression, and it's like it's not because like I'm just some raging whore out there doing what. Which I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people that think that. I'm not. Thank you.
Okay,
yeah.
keep going.
I just ruined my fiance's life because he's like, oh no, that's not what that means. Mistakes have been made. That's just too damn bad. You sit there and just keep stroking that wiener. Hi.
So that's how you got the name.
That's how I got the nickname. And so like I was like, you know what? I really like that.
Yeah.
And so
it stuck with you.
It stuck with me. I'm like, Barb gave me the name. I don't get to choose my own.
Assassin.
No more.
Can I
all Argentines are safe from now on.
Yes, thank God for that.
There's so many people give me nicknames all the time. Like my old coach would like come up with new nicknames like every day. Like I might have a burping problem. I burp all the time. True. And if somebody burps, I usually burp back at them because I speak that language. And so like my old teammates used to call me like Deandrathal, or they'd be like, oh yeah, all right, Queen Kong, and other things. Yeah, trust me. I was like, none of them are nice. They're none are like, oh, pretty princess. It's always just like ape. I'm like, okay, thanks guys.
It makes sense like you and this one are together.
Yeah, I mean, I shaved my back this morning, so there's no hair back.
It was
there.
that time of the week.
I promise. It's true. It was a good week this week. So, and my feet, see, they're on camera. I don't know if they're on camera, but those are shaved too. I'm just going to tuck those in for all you perverts out there.
I'm going to zoom in.
Don't. I know one kid that likes that.
Who?
Oh, we didn't even talk. That's outside of this.
Okay.
He goes to our gym.
Okay. We won't. But yes, I know
like,
you're talking about.
Can we cut that out?
We'll tell you later.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, real quick. We're switching gears before we talk too much about feet, and then nobody listens to the podcast. Or maybe
this is my one stupid human trick.
I might. Wow.
Oh. Hey. Hello.
This is gonna be the opener to the episode.
Premium content right there.
I'm about to gain like 1 million followers. They're all gonna be creepy middle-aged men.
Listen, I didn't create the wiki feed. The wiki feed was created for me.
I don't know. When you hover over wiki feed, it literally says vitamind.com. No, Daishi, gullible motherfucker. He said, does it really?
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
Yes, it does.
He's a little confused with her, so.
All right, we're rating it in. I want to talk about the Ultimate Fighter.
Yes, rate it in.
Okay, because I just talked to Dante and like I heard like
yeah.
now I understand you were nowhere when he was there.
No.
Okay.
No. Good old Dante. Also one of my professors.
Yeah, he's great. He's hilarious.
He's
Dante.
He's out of control. There is no one else like that.
Very funny though.
So
just like you. How did that work? Like, how did you get casted for it? Was it something you wanted to do? Did it find you? What's the story?
They found me.
Oh, okay,
I'm just kidding. Well, if you ask Gary DeFranco that, he might actually say that. He'd be like, I don't know where we picked you up, but damn, I'm not sure about that one. He's actually not country. I'm not sure where that accent came out.
Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, Gary. Well, the first season of the Ultimate Fighter that they had the female, season 18,
Mm-hmm.
I tried out for that one. It was like 3 months after I fought Juliana Pena
Mm-hmm.
and beat her. I'm
Yeah,
gonna just
I
say that
figured you were
again.
gonna. Yeah.
I don't usually usually don't put myself out there and say that, but being that she's not a great person, I like to put that out there.
Poke the bear a little.
Yeah, a little bit. But she'd be like, but I got a belt. I'm like, you're going to lose it to Kayla Harrison or somebody else afterwards, and everyone will be happy. So everything is fine. Wow, I sound salty.
Did you say
Sorry about
why?
that.
Did you say, not to distract you from what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
did you mention like the main reason you're not a big fan of her?
She talked a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
She made a million excuses as to why she lost to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I literally cut about 18 pounds of water weight in 36 hours to make weight for that fight, and
Mm-hmm.
she was over 5 pounds over, which is like, all right, whatever. That's all aside. But it was more after the fight. She's like, oh, I only won because of this, or she only won because of this. I only won, or I only didn't win because of this, and just made a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
And then one of my next fights, she basically invited herself to Utah into that girl's corner, was talking a lot about me online, like, I can't wait to see you highlight reel that bitch. And I was like,
Jesus.
wait, I'm the bitch? Like, okay. And then I subbed that girl in the first round. I bellied her down and got it in there, and she wouldn't even like look at me. And I was like, oh, you talk a lot of shit for somebody for that. Like, how about that highlight reel? Boom, boom, boom. And so just not a good person. And actually, speaking about the Ultimate Fighter, obviously she's the one that went on to win that season of the Ultimate Fighter. I remember I was sitting right next to her, and we were at medicals, and right across the table was Justine Kish, who I ended up fighting twice as well. Small world. But Juliana pulls out playing cards, and she's like, oh, who wants to play like cards?
Mm-hmm.
And Justine's like, well, I'll play. Like, you'll have to teach me. I don't know how to, but
Where is this?
at the Ultimate Fighter tryouts.
At the Ultimate Fighter. Okay.
Yeah, they were keeping us for medicals and
Gotcha.
stuff. They kept a small group for medicals, and so I was kept for that week. And Justine's like, yeah, if you teach me, like, I'll play with you. And she's like, I don't want to play if I have to teach you. And the whole room's just like,
Okay.
and she's like, I'm just kidding. And I was like,
Oh, 'cause
it was very
awkward.
obvious. Yeah, it got really awkward. And I was like, it was very obvious that she was not just kidding.
But she
And,
just felt like awkward.
Oh yeah, that was her trying to cover, and I was like, nope, just raging cunt. It's fine. I throw that word around a little too much. Sorry, but
like
if
you're
the
Australian.
shoe fits and it is just like a glass zipper, it just slips right on right there. The shoe definitely does fit.
So you did Ultimate Fighter with Juliana Bennett.
So I tried out for that season.
Uh-huh.
They kept me for the medicals, but I only had 2 fights going into it. Like, I had just beaten her. I was 2-0. But they usually only keep people if they have 3 or more fights.
Okay.
And I was still a little bit, like, I was still growing in my journey, and I didn't quite put myself out there.
Yeah.
Gary DeFranco actually was like, well, if you even let us know like 5% of how you were, I would have kept you for that first season, but you just didn't.
They didn't know your personality yet.
They didn't know my personality yet, and so
Because I imagine you passed the personality test pretty well. Flying colors.
if I just open up and talk
Yeah.
and like, listen, guys, I'm
Yeah,
not
like,
actually
you
a
were
bad
made
person
for
if you talk to
reality
me.
TV.
Like, I'm actually, I'm not a bad person. Just speak to me. You
So was
might
it
get entertained?
the next season you were on?
So
Or how
it was
many?
that was actually at 135, which I'm actually glad, because I'm not a 135er. I had one fight at 135. I didn't cut weight. I literally walked in, hopped on the scale, like, looked up at my opponent, 'cause she was 10 feet above me in the clouds, and I was like, hey, bro, I'm gonna get to your hips tomorrow. And I did. But the few years later, like, I kept fighting. I went to Invicta. They announced that they're going to do a season at 125, which is my actual weight class. And so that's the one that I tried out for. And my friend was the promoter for Showdown Fights, and he actually is the athletic commissioner for Utah now, Scott Bowler. He's like, oh, you're going. And he knew the people behind the scenes, and I didn't know it at the time, but he had already talked to them, and they were like, well, yeah, duh, she's on.
Yeah.
Like, she's a raging psycho. Like, of course she's going to. Like, and if you didn't know, when I was with Invicta, it was because of an inside joke that I had with Laura Sanko. Like, I'd pet her face. And they're like, look at this lesbian. She's just petting everybody. And I was like, I'm actually not a lesbian. And teach their own with that one. But I was actually just, petting her face.
Yeah, you do that.
Because
you do that often.
It's fine. She's pretty.
Yeah.
So it's fine. We pet what's pretty. But yeah. And so I went out to the tryouts. They kept me. And like Scott afterwards was like, you didn't even have to. They like, you were already on the show. And I was like, oh, cool. So why did I go through this whole thing?
Yeah,
I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But I had to. And
where is it?
In Vegas.
It's
so
in
I was
Vegas.
living in Utah at the time. We drove down, did the whole thing.
How long is it?
Tryouts are only one day, but it's a long ass day. You're sitting in the room with everybody. You have to go in, get your picture taken. The first round, they make you do grappling. Then they do some cuts. Then they make you do a little bit of striking. Then they do some cuts. And then they bring you into a room. They ask you a bunch of questions. And then they'll make their final cuts. And they keep a big group of girls, more than they're actually going to keep, because that's what they did the last time I was kept. So that way they do medicals. So if anyone fails medicals and anything, then they'll get their core of who they want on the show. And
How many about do they keep?
what was there? Like 16 of us that were on the show. And it was like the beginning of the flyweight division for the UFC. And
right.
I would not take that experience back for anything. Like, I had the time of my life. Like, thinking about what I'd done to do, like, obviously, like, I missed my dog, but
How many weeks was it?
it was 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
In Vegas in the summer. The way I like to describe it is like, woo, we get to go there and we get to live in this mansion, but you can't leave. So it's like the Martha Stewart white collar prison experience. So it's like, you're here, it's cool, but you're stuck here forever.
And
with
so
a bunch of
Dante
girls.
is this true for you as well? Like, you weren't allowed to use your phone?
No.
You
They
didn't have
take our phone
access
away
to the
from
outside
us.
world at all, right? No
Not at all.
TV.
Nope. No TV, no music. Like, every morning I would get up and go for my morning run, and I'd have to like sing to myself. And thankfully I've got like 10 personalities in there, because then I can just start having my own little conversations. And basically I always say in my brain, like, the only thing that's going on in my brain, it's like a moth and it's flapping its wings to Cotton Eye Joe. If you're wondering what's going on in my mind when I'm grappling, I'm mostly just singing Cotton Eye Joe to myself. And most girls that I roll with know that. I have made that quite known, because every once in a while I'll slip and I'm like, and they're like, are you choking me and singing Cotton Eye Joe? And I'm like, yeah.
It is a weird
I
way
am.
to go out, I must admit.
Well, it's either that or it's like Whitney Houston. I want to dance
Also
with
a weird
somebody.
way to go out.
Yeah. Or Rick Astley. Never gonna give
Yep.
you up.
Terrifying,
Never
actually. It's
let
like Scary
you
Movie,
down.
but with DeAnna just guillotining you.
I'm a strong
Um,
hand.
So 6 weeks.
Yes.
And like, okay, Dante said they feed you pretty well. You get to have whatever you want.
You
kinda
can
thing?
ask for what every day there's like a list,
Uh-huh.
and you have your name on there. You write whatever you want.
It's amazing.
And they bring it
I'd
to
be
you.
like,
That's
well,
why I was
sure.
like, how is anybody complaining about this? Like,
Yeah.
I sit there, they bring me whatever I want. I never have to worry about anything. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to sleep outside because I'm that weirdo. And so I asked for a sleeping bag, and I slept outside by the pool half the nights. And like, oh no, it's a beautiful pool, and I'm sleeping outside in the sun in Vegas. Like, my life is so terrible.
Wow.
Oh no, please send me home to Utah.
What did a typical day look like?
So we had a couple trainings a day. Depend how the first half we had, we alternated with the other team. So we'd have like morning session, then they'd have their morning session, then we'd have our afternoon session, then they would have their afternoon session, and then halfway through the season we switched who went first. So it's like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. I usually got up, went for a run, had my coffee by the pool in Vegas, and like, just, it was great. I got up, all I had to think about was training and fighting and competing, which is everything that I love doing.
Right.
And so like, I was happy. Like, it was everything. Like, I just have to train and I have to fight. Like,
What was it like living in a house with 15 girls?
my room was amazing.
Who was it?
So I was in a room. I shared a bunk bed with Ariel, Beck at the time, Ariel, Neil now, Sunshine. Hey, Sunshine.
Sunshine and Vitamin
which
D.
I know. Exactly. It was perfect. Like, and she lives up to that name. She's one of the most awesome people that I have ever met. Like,
That's awesome.
Amazing. And then the other bunk was Shanna Dobson and then Sajara Eubanks. Two people that I absolutely love. Like,
yeah, you got along with.
Yeah, and we called our room the Rose Room. We had like the biggest bathroom with like the jacuzzi tub, and which you can't really use unless you're wearing a swimsuit because there's cameras in there and cameramen all in there, and so they follow you at all times.
That must
I
have
don't know
been
if they
weird.
like following me. I kind of ignored it, but I remember one day when Sarge was like cutting weight, she was like, I walked into the room and she was taking her sauna suit off and she was bent over and a camera was like this, like pointed at her, and she looks at me and she's like, and instead I was like, I'm out of here. But, I mean, you kind of ignore it after a while, or just kind of like, they're not supposed to acknowledge us and we're not supposed to acknowledge them, which I had fun with that. Like, I'd come over every once in a while and like, I'd go to the bathroom. We had a microphone on and the microphone doesn't go off. And so I'd be in there and be like, and Gary's like, DeAnna, stop. I'm like, listen, bro, sometimes the poop just doesn't want to come out. You just got to push it. He's like, I know you're not doing that really. And I was like, all right, maybe I was embellishing.
Could you turn, like, if you actually wanted to go to the bathroom, you had to keep them on?
The microphone usually, I mean, you can take it off and then have to put it on right away. But
it's like annoying.
Where's the fun in that? Come on now.
Do you have like any like really good memories or stories you want to share about that experience? Anything that stands out to you?
Oh man.
Or really bad that stands out to you? Either one.
Well, I mean, I got kicked in the head by my friend and knocked unconscious.
Yes, I forgot about that actually.
But I don't actually remember that. So
yeah, that's true. I
woke
see
up
that.
and I was like, something bad must have happened.
Who was that again?
It's Sajara, actually,
That's
my
right,
roommate.
That's right. Yeah,
she was my
that's
roommate on the show
unfortunate.
and loved her to death. She's one of the greatest people as well that I've met. Like, I met really good people. All of the people on Team Alvarez, minus one, but I guess we don't call her Team Alvarez because she left to the other side. But all of the girls were awesome.
With most of them?
A lot of them. I kept in touch with Sajara a lot because we both moved out here. We were roommates for a while at a couple of different places.
Her DNA's in your head.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty sure there's parts of me.
She's literally
in
a part
her
of you
foot.
forever.
So exactly, I'm like if I can get a little ounce of that kick that she got me with, but
Jeez,
I
that was
learned to
something.
keep my hands up.
Yeah,
guys.
there you go. A learning lesson.
But yeah, I keep in touch with them. Like, I try and keep in touch as much as possible. Like, I would love to see them more. Like, it was a great experience. Like,
That's awesome.
I really truly did love my time with them because these are like-minded females who had the same goals, working towards something, all different types. Like, I remember Sarge said something. She's like, if people would have seen you and seen me, and even us, like, you would never think that we would be friends. You would never think that we would have such similarities. But like, talking to her about ways that we grow up and different life experience, like, we had a lot of similarities, and that's why we got along. We obviously have a lot of differences too, but it was just being able to spend that quality time with people was really great. And like, I still hold all those girls to like the highest esteem. Like, they're great. And like I said, I wouldn't take it back for anything. I loved my time there.
That's awesome.
Probably wish I would have kept my hands up, but you live and learn.
What year was this?
Got it. That was in 2017.
2017. So Instagram was around, right?
Yes.
So did you see like a big influx in like popularity for yourself?
A little bit, but I mean, I also saw a lot of bad stuff.
Okay.
They'd be like, speaking of the word that we don't speak, the R word, they'd be like, what is this girl?
Oh.
And I was like,
because you're
kind of.
goofy.
A little bit weird.
Huh.
Yeah, if you Google like DeAnna and the Ultimate Fighter, the first video is of me dancing.
I was just gonna bring up the dancing.
Yeah, it's stuff
you're
I
just
can't
goofy.
get past it. Exactly, and I'm like, they're like,
I
oh,
mean,
are
listen.
you playing it up for the cameras? And it's like, anyone who actually
And you were
speaks to
sober.
me at 1,000% sober.
Yeah.
I was actually cutting weight at the time. And like, you know me,
Yeah.
if you question like, oh, is that DeAnna? Like,
Yeah,
is she just
that's
playing up
really
for the
you.
cameras? And I was like, that was like day 3 into filming, and it was
You're like, unfortunately,
I wasn't even stir crazy.
I was toning it
anything.
down. But you know what's like crazy? You know, honestly, like a lot of people think about reality TV now. If that's the worst thing you're known for is dancing,
Oh yeah,
that's not so bad.
we good.
It could have been a lot worse.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, not for me because it wouldn't have been because I'm actually not that person. So
Yeah.
it seems there's a lot of people out there that get this misconception of me, but that have never even spoken to me before.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't pass the judgment until you actually know me. Like, yeah, you have your online trolls or anything like that, but there's too many people who just like there's a lot of people that just talk shit for wanting to talk shit, and then there's other people who you don't actually know me, so it's like, have a conversation with me before you're like, oh, trash, go back to where you came from, and I'm like, the dumpster? That's what my sister told me when I was growing up. That's where I came from. True story, actually.
Oh, Jesus.
Obviously, we know I didn't come from the dumpster. I look exactly like my dad, so joke's on you.
Which, let's take a couple minutes just to talk about that. So you
Yes.
were very close with your father, right? I saw a
Yes.
little bit of your background story, and one of the fights they covered it. And
Bellator.
This is even before I really knew you.
Yeah.
So yes, you were very close with your father growing up.
Yes.
He passed away a couple of years. How long?
In 2016.
Yeah,
Right
so
before
not-
The Ultimate Fighter, actually.
Yes. And so talk about that experience and what he means to you when it comes to your career.
Oh, man. Honestly, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life. Like, I've had stuff happen, but that was the worst. Because imagine somebody who's your best friend, your
Yeah.
biggest supporter, your everything. Like, somebody who you pick up the phone and that's who you talk to every day.
Right.
Like, if you need to talk to somebody, you talk to them. Whether it's
Yes.
10 minutes, whether it's like an hour, you talk to them about everything. They help you, like your biggest confidant, everything.
Yeah.
And then things happen like that.
Yeah.
And it's anyone who's gone through that knows, and I know me and you were just having this conversation because we know a few people who unfortunately have lost their fathers rather recently. It's like it happens so quick.
Yeah.
And you never know. You never know when things are going to change, and your whole world's going to change, and that person is going to be gone. And I, like, clear as day, I remember it. Like, I got done at work, and I was driving to the gym, and my sister started calling me, and I was like, well, this can't be good. And I say that because my sister was actually in like basic training for the Army. So she wasn't supposed to have her phone or be calling anybody.
Right.
So I was like, the fact that she's calling me right now, this isn't good.
Yeah.
So I pulled off to the side of the highway. Like, I was on I-15 in Utah, main highway. I pulled off and she's like, so something happened. And told me that like my dad went in for a procedure. Turns out, like, they cut into the brain right where there was a tumor. There was an accident with it. He ended up having like a stroke and having issues. He was putting into a medically induced coma, and we don't know the extent of it. We don't know the diagnosis yet, but this is what's going on. And like, I will never forget the conversation. And I flew to Michigan for the first time the very next day so that I could be there with him when we found the diagnosis. And the doctor was like, he has glioblastoma multiforme. So it's not just one brain tumor. It was, there was like 12 plus in there, but it's not just individual tumors. They're all connected by like, not wires, but the genetic equivalent of that, to dumb it down a little bit. And so the doctor was like, there's nothing. We removed one that was right there where we cut in, and that's why there was issues, but there's nothing that we can do. And I was like, all right. And when he woke up, the biggest tumor that he had sat right on his corpus callosum, which is like the intersection between the right and the left sides of the brain. And when you have a tumor there, it stops your ability to talk.
Oh,
so
okay.
because he knew what he wanted to say, but the brain wasn't functioning together correctly because of that tumor, and so he couldn't physically say it. He can only say like one or two words. And that's why like the word fight holds so much for me is because that was one of the few things that he could say. He'd be like, you fight. And like, I didn't have a fight coming up or anything. He went to all of my fights. He was always there. Like, there was fights where he would show up the day of the fight, be there. I'd see him in the stands, but right as soon as the show was done, before I could even see him, he would have to take a red eye because he had to go back to work the next day.
Right.
The next day. And so like, I knew he was there, and just having him there to support was everything. And he was always there.
Yeah.
And then like, him saying fight wasn't just like, oh, when's your next one? It was like, I was in this weird spot. He knew how much it meant to me.
Yeah.
And he was telling me to keep doing it, honestly.
Yeah.
And like, that is something that meant so much to me, because he knew how much I loved it. And like, talking to the people that he worked with and everything, and they're like, oh, he used to always just go on and on. Like, he's like, oh, you're the fighter. Like, we've heard so much about you. He always was like so proud of you, talking about your fights, and just like, you and your sister, like, you were his world. Like, he would just go on and on and on about you guys. Like, I know so much about you, just because he was so proud of you.
Right.
And then, like I said, he couldn't talk anymore. And then that was in August. And then by, I think it was probably October, they put him on hospice, because they still tried treatments, couldn't do anything. Like, he was so dedicated to me and my sister that my sister was in basic training for the Army. Mm-hmm. She had her graduation from that. He couldn't fly because of the treatments. So he stopped his chemo that he was going to, drove from Michigan to Missouri so that he could be there for her, because he knew how much that meant.
That's incredible.
And that's the kind of person that he was.
I can't believe he could even drive.
Yeah,
That's
well,
insane.
he couldn't drive. Somebody drove him.
Oh, still. I was like, what the hell?
He absolutely wasn't able to drive himself, but he was there. And was able to do
regardless, that's crazy.
That's just who he was. Like, he just always showed up. He was always there for anything that we needed. And then by December, on December 23rd, he was gone. Like, my sister, I was trying to get out there, but it was like Christmas time. It was hard. I was on the phone with my sister, and she's like, you got to talk to him. So like, I had this talk with him, and I was like, I love you. You mean everything to me. And like, I want so badly to be there with you, but I don't want you to be in pain anymore. And so I want you to, like, it's okay to let go. You don't need to keep fighting. Like, he was the strongest person I ever met. And I'm like, you don't have to keep fighting. Yeah. And then, like, obviously very emotional phone call, even talking about it now. And I was leaving to go to work like an hour from then, but then my sister called me and he passed. Yeah. And like, I really do truly believe he was trying to hold on for Christmas, because he was one of those that was like all out for all of the holidays, for everything. Like, you want to know where I got weird and awkward personality from? Like, that was my dad. Like, he was that person. Like, he taught me all of my awkward jokes. He taught me like everything. And like, so that's why, like, I try and keep his memory alive with that. And that's why I always tell people his joke. Yes. I've told you the joke before.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're just going to relay this really fast for anyone. Lady's at a grocery store, and she's buying like normal stuff. She's buying eggs, she's buying milk, cheese, nothing out of the normal, but just like normal groceries. Gets her cart, goes up to the front. One by one, she's picking them out of the cart and putting them on the little conveyor belt. There's a guy standing like right behind her, and he's like intensely watching her. Everything that she picks up and puts there, keeps watching, and he comes up to her and he's like, hey, like, you're single, aren't you? And she's like, this is weird. Like, he was watching everything. Like, is there something with my cart? Like, did I buy something that like shows? And she turns to him and she's like, yeah, I am single. Like, how did you know? And he just turns and looks directly at her and is like, it's 'cause you're ugly.
It's so stupid.
It's the stupidest joke ever. But just so you know,
feel
for
like
my
it's-
dad's eulogy in California, that's how I started it. It was in a Mormon church, and I was like,
Oh my
either
god.
this is going to go real bad or this is going to go real good.
How did it land?
And so I said that joke, and I paused for a second, and then I was like looking behind me to the bishop, and all of a sudden he starts laughing, and so everyone started laughing, and I was
God.
like, that could have been real bad, guys. It could have been. I was like, this is. We're gonna start off with a bang.
I love it.
That's who he was, and that's
Aw.
who I got my humor from. And like I said, so I might have made a few jokes that day that probably shouldn't have. Like the poor old lady before the service that came up to me and was like, "It's like, oh, DeAnna, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, I hope you're doing okay. Like, how are you doing?" And I was like, well, I'm alive. Unlike my dad. And this poor little, my cousins are like, and this lady's like, okay. And then walked away. And I was like, my dad would have liked that. Just saying.
And what's the significance of the badge that you normally carry with you?
So my dad was a San Jose police officer, and so when he passed, he had a couple of badges. I got one, my sister got one, and it's just it's my prized possession. Like if
Yeah.
anything happened to that, like I love you too, Chansu. I promise.
We're almost done.
Crying in the corner. Was that Chansu or was that Daishi? It was both. They're probably both hungry. But it's the piece of him that I carry with me. He was a
Yeah.
very proud police officer. He loved the work that he did
Yeah.
in San Jose. He loved his job, loved being able to help people. And so that's, I bring it with me. Like when I'm having rough times or anything, like that's like my memento
Right.
to remember him at all
Yes.
times. And
Remember to fight.
exactly. Remember to fight. And like one of our special places was the SAP Center in California, the Shark Tank. They've called it a bunch of different names. Oh. Anyways, I'm not wearing this jersey because of that. It's just real comfy. And it's hockey season. Woo!
Yeah.
Thanks, Sharks start. Please don't let us down this year.
So,
Decide on that. But yeah, my favorite fight was actually being able to fight at the Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Because like we used to always go to hockey games
that's
there.
cool.
My first UFC event I ever went to, my dad took me. It was the day after my birthday. We went and watched fights together there. And even he was just like, I didn't even know I was going to be a fighter yet. Like I was just doing like Muay Thai, that kind of stuff. And he's like, nah, you're going to fight in this arena one day. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. And he's like, nah, you're going to fight in this arena one day. Like, I know you're going to. And then he was right. I was able to
Yeah,
fight
and-
with Bellator.
like not to take too much time on this, but you kind of no, it's on me because we kind of were all over the place. I normally start with like how people get into it, but like
Yeah.
did you know from being a little kid you were going to be a fighter? Did you kind of just fall into it? Like at what point were you like, okay, I'm going to be a professional fighter?
So, DeAnna Bennett, fellows, ma'ams, whatever is listening to this, peoples of the world. I was a chubby little fat kid, and never in a million years, if you asked awkward little chunky DeAnna if she would be a professional athlete, I would be eating my Cheetos like, that sounds real funny right there. French fried potatoes. Sorry. That was a Sling Blade reference for anyone that doesn't know what the movie Sling Blade is. Fits right into the theme of everything today. Look that up. Anyways, I was awkward little fat kid that, listen, I never thought I would get into it. I wrestled in high school just because it wasn't even my idea. Somebody's like, I think you would be good at this. And so I was like, all right. And that helped me get into shape with that. And then just in college, I took a PE class because I had to, and I took a kickboxing because I was like, punch things, that sounds fun. Didn't account for other people punching me,
Right.
but we make the most of that. Do what we can. I know, Sansu, I feel the same. Don't like it when people punch me. But I took that and I was like, oh, this is a really fun way of working out. Like, I used to hate lifting weights. I used to hate that whole life with that. And like, I don't want to go to a gym and like, bro, curls for the girls. And
So
or whatever
instead
the
you
hell they
punch
say.
people in the
And,
face.
and so instead I was like, I'm going to punch people. Curls for the girls. How about punches for the bitches? That's not appropriate. You're not supposed to say that. True though.
So it kind of just like
It just kind of happened, and like I didn't want to fight, and one of the people there were like, "No, you're gonna be great. Like, let's sign you up for a fight." And
Yeah.
I ended up doing like Muay Thai kickboxing for a while, and then
Okay.
I had my last Muay Thai fight, and they're like, "Oh, we signed you up for an MMA fight," and I was like, "No thanks.
Yeah.
That sounds scary." And she's like, "Oh, too bad." And so I cave really badly to peer pressure in those situations, and so I was like, "Well, I guess I better train for it." And the second I got locked in the cage, like I'm walking out there and I'm like, what am I doing, guys?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. I get in the cage. My opponent, her name was Ariel too. She was across the cage from me. They locked me in, and I was like, well, somehow in my life I have come to this point where I'm in the Thunderdome. So when you're in the Thunderdome, 2 people enter. Only one can leave victorious.
That's where the thunder
So,
clap came from. I see now.
I was about to. I think there's like you can put AC/DC. Thunder, cunt. Thunder, cunt. That's why I don't do karaoke, friends. Number 1, it hurts people's ears. Number 2, I like to make up my own songs.
So you fell into
So,
it.
just
You
kinda fell into
found
it,
out
yeah.
you were really good at it, and then you just never looked back.
I never looked back. After
The
that
end.
first time in the cage, I was just like,
That's awesome.
I became a woo girl, but only wanted to punch people. Like,
That's freaking awesome.
I always like to say, like, there's just such. This is gonna sound like a serial killer, but there's such a good feeling when you take somebody down. You're sitting on top of them,
yeah.
and you're like,
I bet.
You really can't match that. Like,
Yeah.
you get punched back. Yeah, you get kicked in the head, and you wake up and staring at the lights, wondering what you did that day and what happened. But it's like the amount of good that's come from this. Like, I have friends that I've met from this. I have a fiance that I've met from this. Did he fart again? He does that from time to time. But the whole life that I have came from that, and like I'm happy. I wouldn't want to change that for anything. Like, yeah, there's been missteps. Yeah, there's been things that didn't quite go according to plan, but it's like I do what I love every single day. Yeah. And I'm so incredibly happy. And like, even when I'm done fighting, like I don't have that much more time left. Like I said, I want to have a family. I'm doing it while I still can and while I still have that passion, but my passion is now teaching as well. And I want to help these other people find their path into it. Yeah. And I'm excited for that as well. Like that's the next logical step. Like I don't think there's ever going to be a point in my life where I'm like, all right, we're out of the martial arts.
Yeah, you'll always be involved in some capacity.
Maybe when the dementia sets in, and I don't remember, but we're a long ways out from that one, I promise.
So what's next for you? You have this fight coming up, November
6th.
And then you're going to win that real quick.
Absolutely.
And then a couple more fights.
I'm not sure why I dance like this. Somebody told me one day, they're like, because I always dance in the middle of classes, and the rocker was like, you look like an elderly gentleman that would like threw your walker to the side and was like, let's get down, kids. And I'd probably have as many teeth. Like half these are fake. So,
Zero entertainment in this episode. Zero.
No entertainment had. No fun had. And, but yeah, that's all I gotta say is like, find your passion. Even if it's not MMA or anything, like find your passion.
Absolutely.
Go for it. That's my moral of my story. And anyone that talks shit on you, anyone that wants to bring you down, like you don't need to listen to that.
Right.
You don't have to listen to the negativity in life. You ignore that if you're doing what you love and following your path.
Amen.
That's all I got to say.
Where can we find you?
Was that the question you asked?
Yeah. Oh, we can spiral again.
No,
we're gonna
Somebody
spiral.
has to coach in 15 minutes.
I actually haven't even eaten today, which is probably why I'm this.
What is your Instagram handle?
my Instagram or my OnlyFans. Blah, blah, blah.
Either one.
We don't have that. No one wants to see that. It's me doing this
And your feet.
and a little bit of this. And want to see how I can burp the alphabet? So it's DeAnna.
Jesus Christ.
At DeAnna D. Bennett.
DeAnna D. Bennett.
D as in vitamin D for Danielle, not for Dick. DeAnna Danielle Bennett. That's my middle initial.
Your middle name was Danielle.
It's a thing. So DeAnna D. Bennett. Follow me.
Follow her.
It might be entertaining.
Lots of feet
It might
pics.
not be. They're no free content. That's premium content right there. But one of my favorite
gotta subscribe.
messages I ever did get was somebody asked to be my weak little foot slave, and I was like,
Well, that was weird of Daishi.
yeah. And then it was love at first sight. I was like, "Ew, you want to be my weak little foot slave?
Anything else you want to say? And you only have about 2 minutes. we don't want to talk about you.
Speaking about my weak little foot slave. That's weird.
Well,
No, like I said, I'm happy. Like the last year before getting back into this, I didn't feel like myself. Lots happened, but it brought me to a better place.
Yes.
Like I found my people. I found this. If I don't talk about him again, he'll cry. So
Daishi.
that thing in the corner.
Wah.
I got Sarah Connor, my
He already had his
cat. I got
moment.
Chansu, the dog. Like I have the gorilla,
Yeah.
which I'll ask. You can guess which one's the most difficult. He's looking at his feet now.
Ew.
Wonder
I
how
know,
much
they're
money
really
I can
gross.
make off these.
Ugh.
Oh, there's a niche for it. I'm sure you have people that want to be your weak little foot slave. Yeah.
Well.
But that's all I got. So I'm going to end this.
This is a weird way to end.
No, no. We're going to end this the same way that I ended my dad's eulogy.
Okay, I'm ready.
And
I'm scared.
that's all I got to say about that.
Thank
Forrest
you.
Gump quote for the end.
Thank you, DeAnna Bennett, for coming on. I've been asking you every single day for 1 year. I love you. You're insane. Thank you, Daishi, for bringing the dog,
Insane
even
in
though I
the
told you not to,
membrane.
and distracting
we
us
left
for the
Sarah
entire
Connor.
hour. And I hope I can see you guys back on again.
Thank
All right.
you. We'll see you in freedom. Oh! The wiener.